Imagine a city so steeped in evil, so corrupted by blood and arrogance, that even a prophet of God would rather vanish to the ends of the earth than look it in the eye. That city was Nineveh, the dark heart of the Assyrian Empire, a kingdom built on conquest, fear, and cruelty. Its warriors were monsters of legend, its idols without number, and its violence without limit. Then came the divine decree. The time of mercy is ending. But before destruction struck, God did the unthinkable. He sent Jonah, a reluctant prophet, to deliver one last warning. Nineveh stood like a crown of power on the banks of the Tigris River, ruling vast lands that now belong to Iraq, Syria, and Turkey. Its roots trace back to Genesis, where Nimrod, the mighty hunter, founded it after the Great Flood, a symbol of human ambition rising again from the dust. Under King Sennacherib, it became the beating capital of the Assyrian world, adorned with massive walls, golden palaces, and temples that touched the heavens. It was said to take 3 days to walk across, yet beneath its splendor, darkness reigned. Nineveh's greatness was stained with terror. The prophet Nahum later called it the city of blood. Its rulers gloried in cruelty, displaying their victims in sculptures and carvings that celebrated torture and death. Prisoners were flayed alive, their bodies impaled as warnings to all who resisted. Violence was not just a method of war, it was their pride, their identity. Terror was their language, and power their god. What others saw as inhuman, they called divine. Behind the golden walls lay corruption so deep that even their worship had turned into madness. So when God told Jonah, "Go to Nineveh and cry out against it," fear gripped him. These were not just enemies, they were monsters. How could mercy be offered to such a people? Instead of obeying, Jonah fled toward Tarshish, the farthest place he could reach. But no one escapes the presence of God. A storm rose on the sea, fierce enough to tear the ship apart. The sailors cast lots and discovered Jonah was the cause. In repentance, he begged them to throw him into the waves, and as he sank beneath the dark waters, the storm ceased. Then God sent a great fish to swallow him. For 3 days and nights, Jonah sat in darkness, praying for forgiveness and mercy. In that belly of despair, he realized no one can outrun the will of God. When the fish released him onto dry land, God's voice came again. "Arise, go to Nineveh, and proclaim the message I give you." This time Jonah obeyed. He entered the massive city and cried out, "40 days more and Nineveh will be destroyed." To his astonishment, the people listened. From the greatest noble to the poorest beggar, everyone trembled before the word of the Lord. They fasted, clothed themselves in sackcloth, and humbled their hearts. Even the animals were covered in ashes. When the king heard Jonah's words, he rose from his throne, stripped off his royal garments, and sat in ashes. He decreed that every person turn away from evil and violence, saying, "Who knows? God may yet relent and show compassion," and he did. The Almighty looked upon their repentance and withdrew his wrath. The city that was days away from ruin was spared. The cruelest empire of its age experienced the mercy of heaven. In that moment, Nineveh became proof that no heart is too hard for God to change. But time passed and the memory of repentance faded. New generations rose, proud and unrepentant. The people who had once bowed before God returned to their idols, their bloodshed and their arrogance. They trusted in their armies and wealth, believing they could never fall. Then God spoke again, this time through the prophets Nahum and Zephaniah, not with a warning, but with judgment. Nahum saw visions of the city's end, flames consuming its walls, corpses flooding its streets, and its warriors slain by their own arrogance. Zephaniah declared it would become a wasteland, a home for wild beasts and ruins. And in 612 BC, it happened. The Medes and Babylonians joined forces and destroyed Nineveh completely. The empire that had ruled the world was erased from it. For centuries, people believed Nineveh had never existed, that it was only a myth. God's patience had run its course. The city that once tasted grace now became a monument of judgment. The story of Nineveh is more than history. It is a mirror for humanity. It tells us that no sin is too great for forgiveness, but no mercy is endless when hearts return to corruption. God's grace can reach anyone, but his justice will not sleep forever. Repentance is not a moment. It must become a life. No nation, no empire, No person can defy God without consequence. His mercy invites us to change, but his justice ensures that rebellion will meet its end. Nineveh stands as both a symbol of hope and a warning. It shows that grace is real and judgment is certain. The same God who spared Nineveh in mercy also judged it in righteousness. His patience is vast, but not infinite. Today, his voice still calls, "Turn back while there is time." Let the story of Nineveh awaken repentance and humility in every heart. May we never forget that God's mercy transforms those who seek him, and his justice falls on those who turn away. If this message moved you, let it remind you that the time for change is now. Walk in truth, live in obedience, and stay close to the light of his word. May the Lord bless you and your family and guide your steps in wisdom and grace.